Like Becky said, I am a filmmaker, a teacher, I'm a mother, and I'm now the industry manager here at HIF for our high film industry programs. And what is high film industry? That's what Becky was just talking about. We have several different things, but I think why you're all here, right, is for fiscal sponsorship. So I'm going to get into it pretty quickly because we have a whole agenda. So, yes, here we go. Ready, Russ? Okay. So here we go. This is our agenda for today for those of you who like to know what's happening. So first, I am going to talk about the fiscal sponsorship. We're going to have an overview of that. I'm going to go through the application process. I won't go into too much detail, but we'll go through it. And then I'm going to talk a little bit about high film membership. You do have to be a high film member to apply for fiscal sponsorship. It's very affordable. And then we have two special guests. We have two projects that are in the process of applying for fiscal sponsorship, so you get an actual real-life example of the kind of project that's a good fit for HIF, and you can hear from the filmmakers themselves about like why they're applying for fiscal sponsorship, what they're going to use their funds for, and that kind of thing. And then we'll have a question and answer period, and then a little bit more time for you all to mingle together, because this is also what high film is about, right? So here we go. We're going to dive right into it. Oh, thank you. Oh, someone did that. Oh, it was Aaron. All right. So what is fiscal sponsorship, right? So it is a formal agreement that like you sign and we sign that you get to use HIF's nonprofit status, basically, to raise funds for your project. So you're an independent filmmaker. You have a project. You want to apply for, say, a specific grant, and they say you have to have 501c3 nonprofit status just to even apply for the grant. That's what this is for, amongst other things, okay? You can get grants, taxes, and you can also collect donations from people and get that write-off, right? That 501c3 write-off. So that's also a benefit of that, amongst other benefits that we're going to go over. Okay, next. All right. So here we go. What are some of the benefits? And this is not like the full list, but this is kind of the highlights, okay? So access to funding, like I just said, there's a lot of grants out there and other funding opportunities where they require you to have 501c3 status. As a lot of you know, that's a very tricky thing. It's to get 501c3 status. You can't just snap your fingers and get it. So if you are fiscally sponsored by HIF, then you get to use our 501c3 status. What else do you get? Support. And this is a pretty big one, I think, from HIF, from us, which is different kinds of support. You have administrative guidance, promotional opportunities, and the connection to this broader community. So what does that mean? Promotional opportunities. As you all know, like HIF has been around for a while now, right? We're celebrating. It's coming up on 45 years. So we have an extensive network, right, where we're promoting out whatever is going on at HIF, right, through social media, through emails, through newsletters, through events, and all that. So now if you're fiscally sponsored by us, then you get to be a part of that. So when we're announcing fiscally sponsored projects, you're on the list. If you have a special event coming up, say you have an event where you're going to be screening a teaser of your film and raising money, we can promote that for you. So you get access to our network of like where we market and all that. Administrative guidance. So our team here at HIF it's small, but it's powerful. And I think a lot of you already know, like Becky and Anderson, who's the creative director here. We have a lot of connections. So Anderson has a lot of connections across the world. I have a lot of connections here in the local industry. So if you get fiscally sponsored by HIF, then you have access to that. So if you come to us and you're like, oh, I need someone to color my film. I'm in post-production, and we can be like, okay, yeah, here's someone who can do that. You can hire, that kind of thing, right? I'm just going to look at my notes to make sure that I'm not missing anything as we go through. Okay. Yeah, so, and then, distribution as well, right? Like we have connections. We're a film festival, so we have connection to the other film festivals. So if you make a film that's really great and appropriate, we can, put you through those networks as well. What else are the benefits? Credibility. So when you're going out there and you're raising money for your film, or you're trying to get in-kind donations, or you're trying to get people on your team, and you can say, hey, we're fiscally sponsored by HIF. That's some credibility right there, right? Like people know HIF, and they know, this project has been vetted. It's been looked over. It's not, it's legit kind of thing, right? Here's a big one that I think a lot of you are here for today, potentially. DCCA compliance and a COI. What does that mean? So here in the state of Hawaii, they require you to have, quote, DCCA compliance, which is kind of a list of different compliances to do business with the state, basically. There's a new film grant that I think a lot of you know about. And part of the requirement of that is you need to have an active COI that lists the state of Hawaii as one of as covered. And also you need to have DCCA compliance. So if you're fiscally sponsored by HIF, then you get our DCCA compliance and our COI. So just to be clear, this is not a COI for production, okay? So this is not a COI for you to go and shoot your film and then we're gonna cover like if there's an accident. That's not what that is. This is just for compliance for the grant for like a financial administrative COI kind of thing. Okay, so if you haven't shot your film yet and you're going to go shoot your film and you need production insurance, that is separate from this. Okay. Next. Oh yeah. Certificate of insurance. Great question. Okay, who is fiscal sponsorship appropriate for? As you can see on the slide, I made this one biggest because it's the independent filmmakers who are seeking to fund projects that align with HIF's mission. That's like the number one, right? Which is most people in this room, I think, or most people who are going to be applying. For what? Any project really that aligns with our mission, but particularly it can be for emerging projects, right? So you're starting off, you don't have the means to like make a LLC or a 501c3 for yourself and all that. Or if it's short term and you don't want to, like I said, go through all the business and you just get fiscally sponsored by us, you can collect money, you can have it written off and go on to the next project. Okay, so here's the application process. How are we doing on time? What time is it? Okay. So here's the application process. So initially, there's going to be the online application that I'm going to go through very quickly in a minute. There's going to be a proposal review where our committee reviews your application, and then we might ask you for a meeting, like a Zoom, or we might ask you for more materials or to clarify something. And then there'll be final approval where there'll be an agreement where you read it through and there's deliverables, like you need to turn in this by that time, every quarter, reports, that kind of thing. I'm going to go over that a little bit. And then if everything's approved, you get sponsorship and you can go forward and start raising money and start promoting your film. Okay? Next. Okay. So when you go to the website, this is what you're going to see. So I'm not going to go through all this because you guys can go and read it yourself, but I just want to show you what it looks like, right? So this is the top of the application. It basically goes through the benefits, like I was saying, and then the application process that I just went over. So this is going live now. It's just going live. Yeah. So she's asking if you can have a second fiscal sponsorship. So there is a part in the application you're going to see where it's going to ask if you have a second. So it just depends. So yeah, it doesn't stop you from being fiscally sponsored from us per se. Yeah. Okay, next. Okay, so this is the application highlights. I'm going to run through it real quick. Stuff that's pretty obvious, like title, type of project, as in, is it like a short film, is it a doc, that kind of thing. And this is all in the application, so you can look through it, have everything ready, right, before you go to fill it out. Basic things that this is like for most grants and stuff like this, guys. So if you're a filmmaker, this is the kind of stuff that you want to kind of have together anyway. Have it in a Google Drive so that every grant, you're not trying to reinvent the wheel, right? So like story summary, log line, this is all very, pitch deck kind of stuff, right? Sample work. If you haven't started making it, that's okay. We want to see a sample work from you from something else, preferably from the director. Topic summary and mission alignment. Remember, part of this is it needs to align with HIF's mission. So we need to know what's your perspective on why does this project align with our mission. And then, stuff like stage, timeline, intended audience and distribution, all that. We need to know all this stuff, right? So we know what stage are you at? What are we getting into with you? How far along are you? Like we said, are you fiscally sponsored by another organization? And what is your fundraising strategy? Because we're not going to fundraise for you, right? Like we can help, we can support, but you need to have a plan and you need to be doing that. And then training and mentorship is one I want to point out, because that's something, right, that's really important to us at HIFILM especially, is training the next generation and giving them opportunities. So that's something that we just support and we encourage. So it's not necessarily required, especially say like if you're in post and you're almost done and you're just trying to raise some money for, you know, the end. But if you do have an opportunity to like bring on trainees, mentees, interns, great. And we can also put you in touch with people like that because we have a great education department. Next. Okay, just real quick, what is it not? Just so we're not confused, and hopefully this helps with the Q&A. It's not a funding source, like we said, right? This is not fiscally sponsored, doesn't mean we're giving you money, but it's an opportunity, right? It's not a free service. We do charge 7%. If you do research, typically fiscal sponsorship is anywhere from 5 to 15%. That's usually the range. We're not the lowest, but we still try to be pretty competitive, and we do provide, like I said, some support. So it's not just, oh, you get our 501c3 and that's it. We're going to be more hands-on and helping you. And it's not hands-off. In other words, like I said, on your agreement, you'll see like what is required. And it changes per project. So, you know, like if you're finished with the project, it's going to have different deadlines than if you're in pre-production, right? So I'm not going to get into the exact, but every agreement will have its own schedule and deadlines and deliverables that we agree on. Does that make sense? Yeah. Okay. Okay. Now to the HIFILM membership, which is what we said we'd talk about. So real quick, sorry, time check. Okay. So HIFILM industry membership. So this is something that rolled out before I joined HIF. So it's been going on, I think, for about a couple years, and just kind of softly rolling it out. And what it is, it's a membership. It's a year-long membership. It's only $30 a year. So yeah, it's pretty cheap. And you get immediately free access to our quarterly workshops, which are going to be different tracks. There's year-round networking events. This is one of them, for example. We're kind of starting off. And you get a festival pass discount because we do have an industry pass for the Fall Film Festival. This year, like Becky said, we're having a new conference, which is going to be, I think, really cool, like a multi-day conference. So you as a HIFILM industry member would have early access to buy passes to that, because I have a feeling it's going to sell out. And then, of course, you have access to our fiscal sponsorship program, as we're talking about today. And this is not the full list. This is just what we're starting with. And my whole job here is to grow this. So I'm very open to, you know, talking to all of you and hearing about like what can HIF do and going forward to support you all and to support the local filmmaking community, right? Okay, I think, oh, one more thing I'm going to go over. So for the agreement, because I think some people are probably kind of wondering, like, what's in that agreement? What's the kind of deliverables that you might need to deliver, right, once you become fiscally sponsored? So real quick, I'm just going to go through. Okay, so a couple of the things of like logistically how it works. So one thing is how it works is if we're collecting money for you, we would collect the money. So say you get $1,000 donation, and that's going to go through us so that they can get a write-off or it's a grant or something. We would collect the money. We would keep the 7%, and then up to once a month, you can request that money and what it's for and say what it's for, and then we cut that to you. Okay, so that's that process. So we do collect the funds, we keep our percentage, and then we distribute it to you. So you need to be sure you're like completing accurate records of all the funds received, all the expenses, everything like that. So we both need to be in communication with all that, but it's your kuleana to keep it track of very organized with all those finances. There could also be additional like small other costs for administrative things, like if it comes up on our end, but it's going to be pretty small, if anything. There will be reporting. So depending on your project, it'll be quarterly or semi-annually or annually. Because, you know, some of these projects might be just like a small short film that you're going to finish in 6 months, but some might be like a feature documentary that's over the next like 4 years, right? So depending on what it is, you're going to have different reporting deadlines. And I think that's it I think that's it for this part. All right, that's it for this part. Thank you.